Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, National Petroleum Authority assures the public of adequate fuel supply, rejecting reports of shortage in some parts of the country. We'll be joined by the NPA for a conversation on this. Also in this bulletin, a private legal practitioner files an application at the Supreme Court to stop government from issuing Treasury bills unless it secures prior parliamentary approval. We are live with this private legal practitioner. Plus, Consolidated Bank Ghana assures temporary suspension of foreign exchange license will not affect its full banking operations, while promising to address all concerns raised by the Bank of Ghana. We shall share with you a statement from CBG. We have details of this and more lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the marketplace with me, Pius Kojo-Baka, and we want to begin from the petroleum downstream sector because the National Petroleum Authority this afternoon is assuring the public of adequate fuel on the market and in stock. It is therefore rejecting reports of shortage in some parts of the country. The Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, COPEC, in a statement revealed pockets of supply challenges due to issues at some depots and also delays in payments of some private oil traders. But the National Petroleum Authority is rejecting these claims. Mohammed Abdul Kudu speaks for the NPA and joins us via phone for a conversation on the back of this claim. Thanks so much, Mohammed, for joining us here on the marketplace. Now, you are rejecting claims by COPEC that there is shortage of fuel at the pumps. What then is the situation on the ground as we speak?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. What I can say from our end is that we have enough fuel in the system. Our plans for availability of that is specified, and the plans to restock are both on course. And so there is no any expectation in the near future of any possibility of shortage at all. If there is a certain shortage at certain filling stations, then it could be the issue of distribution, but not the availability of the product, whether it is diesel or petrol in country.
All right, so what then is causing the distribution challenge?
Some of them I would not be able to put my finger specifically on. It could be an issue of a business relationship between the OMC and the PTT. And if there is a challenge with regard to some payment of debt or an issue between the two, it could actually bring about availability of the product at that particular OMC. And it's not something that probably has come to our attention that I can speak specifically on. But like I said, the issue of the availability of the product in the country is not in doubt. The possibility of a shortage at a particular filling station can be addressed if that particular issue and exactly what the situation is has actually been brought to our attention. But currently, we have no information that we are experiencing shortages of the product across the length and breadth of the country.
All right, so let's clarify this claim as well. COPEC is saying that from what they've gathered, the situation is as a result of supply suppression due to some depot upgrades at Boss APD, Boss Kumasi, and of course, Boss Mami Water depots. Has that come to your attention?
Supply suppression, the English language, forgive me, but I don't understand it. What I'm talking about is the importation of the product or the production of the product in country for the availability of them for the consumption public. I'm saying that we have not in the to really be able to satisfy the needs of our present, at least the next 5.
Mohammed, we are also learning that other private oil traders who over the period complain of monies owed them are refusing to put enough products onto the market. That's the mixed situation of availability at some pumps. We are learning. Has, again, that come to your attention?
That, again, is a private relationship that I might not be able to speak directly to. The products that are in country, in the storage facilities, are actually held in for the BDC. So the OMC that are supposed to take the product from the BDC, if the OMC has certain applications that are not applied fully, that result in the BDC not really releasing the product to the particular OMC. But we have hundreds of OMCs in the country dotted across the length and breadth of our space here. And I believe that if you can and you don't find a product at a particular OMC, there is an OMC next to that particular one that you can actually go and get the product from. So for the issues of business relationship, it will be difficult for we as Nigeria Petroleum Authority to be able to speak exactly on. But on the question of the plan to have the product available in the country, I can assure you that there is absolutely no cause for alarm at all.
Mohammed, I want you to tell us, going forward, the pricing of the commodity, what should consumers expect?
These are things that are basically up there. Two issues basically dictate that the pricing of the product. One has to do with the cost of the product itself from the international market, because like they are products that we import into the country. And then two has to do with the value of our TV relative to the dollar. We all know that we use the dollar in bringing the product into the country. So as and when the price of the product on the international market or the value of the TV to the dollar fluctuates, we are expecting to see the same thing applying on the market. But for now, as we speak, we are not seeing any volatility. So we're hoping that all those factors that I've just talked about would remain unchanged.
Very well. Thank you so much, Mohammed Abdul Kudus. He speaks for the National Petroleum Authority, clarifying that development for us there. Let's shift focus to some other stories we are following up for you. A private legal practitioner, Jonathan Nable, has filed an application at the Supreme Court seeking to immediately stop government from the issuance of Treasury bills. George Yafe has more.
Filed at the registry of the Supreme Court on Monday, November 11, and seen by Joy Business, is seeking an injunction on government and all its other agents from borrowing by issuing Treasury bills to finance government's operations. The application has joined the Attorney General as defendant in the case. The private legal practitioner in the application insists that, based on the country's laws and the Financial Administration Act, government should at any time seek Parliament's approval before going ahead to raise these funds. The application is also seeking the court's approval to cite the action of the Finance Ministry and the Bank of Ghana as unconstitutional over how it has gone ahead to raise these funds and enter into contracts repaying these bonds without Parliament's approval. The registrar of the Supreme Court has received the application, and a hearing date is expected to be set within 14 days. Treasury bills has become a major source of financing government operations after it was locked out of the capital market due to the debt restructuring program. It is not clear for now how the Supreme Court granting this request could impact on government finances, and also what could be the impact of this ruling on current holders of these bills.
Thankfully, Jonathan Amable joins us via Zoom for a conversation, and he filed the application at the Supreme Court seeking to immediately stop the government from issuance of Treasury bills. And thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on the marketplace. And first off, why did you take that action? Unmute for me, if you can.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much. So I'm a lawyer. I work within the finance space. I usually advise corporates on financial institutions, capital market transactions, mergers and acquisitions. So I follow the activities of the government quite keenly in this space. And I have a fair idea of the laws that regulate the space. And you would realize that in the 1992 Constitution, there's an article that regulates the ability of the government to borrow. That article is Article 181. Now, Article 181, 3, and 4, which are pertinent to this situation, are quite clear. It authorizes the government to borrow and says that the government must borrow pursuant to an enactment, and that enactment must specify that the borrowing cannot take effect unless the terms and conditions of that borrowing are laid before Parliament for approval. Now, this is way back. It came all the way from the 1968 Constitution. And if you read the proposals for the 1968 Constitution, it's quite clear that the framers of our Constitution introduced that provision because of a situation like what Ghana has just witnessed in the past couple of years. When you read it, they talk about how we had a debt overhang by the time it was 1968. We had to repudiate our debt. We had to go through debt restructuring, which is basically what we have. And it was because there were no checks and balances on the ability of the government to borrow. So they thought it was important to vest the National Assembly, which is the parliament, with the ability to regulate government borrowing by being the ones to approve the terms and conditions of those borrowings. Now, fast forward, we have it all the way in the 1992 Constitution. And we have the Bank of Ghana Act, okay, which was enacted in 2002. And we have the Public Financial Management Act, which was enacted in 2016. Now, what these enactments do, Section 30 of the Bank of Ghana Act, it does is that it enables the Bank of Ghana to lend money to the government, either through advances, temporary advances, overdrafts, and by the government issuing securities directly to the Bank of Ghana. And we saw that the government has been doing this. 2021, the government relied extensively on central bank financing. 2022, the government did same. And 2020, when we had COVID, the government placed a 10 billion bond directly with the Bank of Ghana to borrow that amount. So the government has been doing that. And then under the Public Financial Management Act, we have the provisions which enable the government to borrow through standard loans with the IMF, other institutions, and on the capital markets. Now you realize that in the Public Financial Management Act, for the standard loans and for the international capital market securities, it subjects them to parliamentary approval as required by the Constitution. But for domestic securities, which has to do with the Treasury bills and the domestic bonds that we have here, which were restructured under our domestic debt restructuring program, we do not have that requirement for it to be submitted to Parliament for approval, as has been stated in the Constitution. And when you look at our economic history, you realize that this ability of the government to borrow domestically, either from the Bank of Ghana or through the capital markets, is really part of what has contributed greatly to the situation that we have now. Because let me tell you, as at end of September, in terms of Treasury bills alone, the government has issued about upwards of 180 billion in Treasury bills. What the government issued for the whole of last year was 165 billion.
All right.
When you compare that to the 2016, the whole of 2016, at the end of 2016, the government had only 20 billion outstanding in Treasury bills.
That's fine, Jonathan. So let me chip in with this quickly. What do you make of arguments that, per the act you quoted, has to do specifically with loans and not necessarily about Treasury bills?
So the Constitution is quite clear on the matter. There are two things involved. One is Article 1816, which defines loans, okay? And Article 1816 is very clear that for the purpose of that provision, a loan is any transaction under which the government takes money on the condition that the money will be repaid at a later date from the consolidated fund or from any other fund. So you simply have to ask yourself the question, when the government issues Treasury bills, does it repay the money? does it come from the consolidated fund or other public funds? You simply have to look at our debt profile.
All right.
When you go to our debt that has been always stated by the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance, you see very clearly the portion for Treasury bills and bonds. They are there because they constitute loans. And
all
the
right.
Supreme Court
Thanks for that clarification. I think your point is well made. But Counsel, if you can engage me briefly, why have you waited all this while? We barely have a month to wrap up the year. Why have you waited all this while to file the suit?
So we filed the suit in February. We filed the suit in February of this year. The Attorney General had 14 days upon receipt of the suit to file a defense and for the case to start and be heard. Till today that we are speaking, the Attorney General has not even filed a defense. The Attorney General has done nothing in the suit. So we realized that the Attorney General has really just decided to ignore the matter and to exploit the loophole to enable the government to borrow as much as it can. And at the end of the day, it affects you and I, it affects our economy, and that is why we're in debt distress. So we have to plug that situation by requesting the Supreme Court to stay any further borrowing unless it is done with parliamentary approval, because the Supreme Court has already held that Treasury bills and bonds are borrowings in the case of against the Attorney General.
All right.
The Supreme Court has already held that. And the further thing is that when you have the Treasury bills and the bonds, the Supreme Court has held that any contract which is concluded in contravention of Article 181 is void, and nobody can derive any benefit from it. So that the government can come back and claw back interest payments that it would have made under those contracts from the citizen.
All right, so has the registry...
I don't think we should subject our citizens to that.
That's fine. So, Counsel, has the registry given a date to begin hearing?
No. So the practice of the Supreme Court nowadays is that you file your application when the Attorney General is served, then the registrar will now issue a hearing notice with a date for the hearing of the application. But the bailiffs have confirmed that the government has been served, and so we are expecting that tomorrow there wouldn't be any activity in terms of issuing Treasury bills for settlement on Monday until the court has been able to determine the matter.
So will you cite the Attorney General for contempt of court if they go ahead to issue bonds?
I mean, I will consult my lawyers if the government should go ahead and do that. But I mean, recent history has shown that the government, if you look at what happened with Parliament and all of that, the government, they understand the situation that once the application is filed, their hands are stayed. So I don't think it will come to that. Thank
you so much, Counsel. He is the private legal practitioner who have filed a case at the court to ensure that government seizes issuance of Treasury bills. We'll follow up and, of course, keep you posted in our subsequent bulletins. Away from that, the Central Securities Depository has announced plans to roll out an enhanced system which will improve information flow on trade of securities. Speaking to Joy Business at the 20th anniversary launch and unveiling of SBS new logo, Board Chair and First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afari, explained that the move, which is expected to commence by the first half of 2025, is expected to improve the database of investors. More in this report.
The ceremony marked 20 years of innovation in promoting investment activities in Ghana's financial market by safeguarding investment. A new logo was unveiled to reflect the depository's new values and drive to leverage technology for financial inclusion. Speaking to the media, First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana and Board Chair of the depository, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afari, announced plans to roll out an enhanced system to improve information flow on securities trading.
The new system that they are introducing will have all the granular data, every single bit of it, which allows for policy formulation and allows targeting of policies and allows the market to even grow further, to be able to target issuance to a particular group of people and make sure that these particular bonds or certificates or instruments that are issued is geared towards a particular group of people with specific benefits and growing that particular segment of the market. So that will be rolled out latest by the first half of next year.
On the new chapter of the depository, Chief Executive Joseph Okolate noted that it hopes to leverage technology to expand securities trading.
Today, all banks have mobile, they have internet banking. Why not the depository? So we are bringing on board the investor portal. It empowers the investor so that investor sees everything that happens on their securities account. What we are also doing is, because we are bringing the investor portal, we are democratizing the space. So if somebody is in Tumu, they don't have to come to Accra or Kumasi or any regional capital to open a securities account.
He outlines how the establishment of the depository has diversified the country's capital market.
The visionary Dr. Paul Akwa and the Ministry of Finance started this journey where it was envisaged that an institution like a depository need to be set up. So we automated and we went live in 2004. And we believe we've chalked a lot of successes helping grow the market. Previously, there were zero, absolutely no foreign investor on our market because the large pension funds would not permit these pension funds to invest in a country that does not have a depository.
To commemorate its 20th anniversary, the Central Securities Depository will undertake various activities aimed at improving financial literacy and driving inclusion.
One of our lead stories, Consolidation Bank Ghana has assured the public that the suspension of its foreign exchange license will not affect its full banking operations. This was captured in a statement issued by the bank today. It, however, assured the public that it is working with the Bank of Ghana to effectively address issues raised by the regulator. And what we know as of now is that Consolidated Bank Ghana is assuring the public this afternoon that the suspension of its foreign exchange license will not affect its full banking operations. And we know this was captured in a statement issued by the bank today. It however assured the public that it is working with the Bank of Ghana to effectively address issues raised by the regulator. And pretty soon we shall share with you a statement from the bank. As in when we do have it, we will share it with you in any moment from now. But CBG, as we know, have issued a statement saying that, well, the development following the suspension of its forex trading will not affect its operations and, of course, customers as well. And this is certainly a developing story. There you go with the statement rolling on your screens now. Now, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has certified some businesses operating at the ports to be authorized economic operators. This is a concept adopted by the World Customs Union to identify key business partners and various countries to enhance security and collaboration among industry players. Speaking to Joy Business after a short ceremony to award the certificates, Commissioner of Customs Brigadier General Zibrim Ayorobo said this will boost operations as it strengthens the relationship between the custom officials and, of course, businesses. More in this report.
As we look at the security, at the same time, we'll look at the convenience of clearance. And we have created a balance based on these authorized economic operators. It is captured in our law. It's also captured in the convention, captured, that is World Customs Organization, well captured. So it means that once we have companies being certified, they give us much of the information about their companies, their privacy. It also is the facilitation of trade by way of faster clearance. And the other aspect is revenue. The certainty, if you look at the data, the certainty in terms of revenue mobilization. Other countries, like we've been told, have about 100 and something. When you have 100 and something companies who are authorized economic operators certified, it means that your revenue is certain. That is the greatest asset. So the future of, excuse me, the future of customs is with this concept of authorized economic operators.
And that's our part company here on the marketplace with me, Pius Kojo Baka. We have more stories for you when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Do visit the portal and get yourselves updated. See you at 5 p.m. with Business Live.